with the headrest down, and we have footwork settings and 2 red springs, foot bar up. We're gonna start laying on your backs. If you're not working with the stop reformer or you're not sure, you just want your knee to be over your hip. So if that means you're adjusting the foot bar or the gear bar and the stopper, whatever that means to get your knee over your hip joint. That looks good. So let's have our heels on the bar in line with the center of the hips. So sit bones and push down into the bar. Start to curl the pelvis up really slowly, trying to articulate one vertebrae at a time. Up off of the carriage, keeping the carriage in. Take a breath at the top. See if you can push your pubic bone up more and think a little bit more imprint. And then roll back down really slowly, trying to work through your lower back. Do that once more like that. Round the pelvis under, push the hips up towards the ceiling, opening through the front of the hips. And then roll back down through your spine. Once you get all the way back down, leave your heels where they are and push your legs out to straight. Once you get straight, kind of wiggle around a little, get your hips really level, neutral, all that good stuff, and then come back in. And then we're gonna roll the hips up again, hip roll up. Inhale at the top, breathing into the front of the hips, opening them, roll back down. Once you get back down, as you push out, lift one leg, bring it back in, set it down in line with the sit bone, push out with the other leg lifted, and then come back in. So we're gonna roll up once, hip roll once, and then push out with one leg each time. So you're doing 2 times single leg, alternating sides. And one leg lifts, you push out, you come in, you push out, you come in, roll back up. And then we're gonna start adding additional repetitions to each set. So I'm rolling back down from my hip roll. I'm gonna push out in neutral and do single leg alternating 4 times. And then I'll roll up again, and then I'm gonna repeat the single leg with 6 repetitions. Still focusing on opening up through the spine as you do that hip roll. Feel free to go on your own timing. And then we're gonna add additional sets. So we've got 8, rolling up, opening through the front of the hip, rolling back down, pushing out for 8, 7, 6. One more set. Rolling up through your hip roll and rolling back down. Got about 10 single legs. When you're done with those 10 single legs, you can drop down onto the balls of the feet, push the legs out to straight with the balls of the feet, and go into a little bit of running while we all catch up with each other. Good. Feel free at this point to adjust the headrest any way that's comfortable. As your leg straightens and your heel goes under the bar, make sure your knee isn't still slightly bent. It kind of pulls you into the front of the quads instead of open up to the back of the leg. Yeah, that's better, Anita. And then bend the knees, come all the way back in. Bring your heels wide to the corners of the bar. Push the carriage out with your knees turned out or laterally rotated. Turn in and bring it in. So you're just doing this big hip mobilization. Exactly where your heels are or feet are on the bar does not matter to me. Just try to find a place where you get some opening through the hips. You can be on the toes even if you wanted. Some people prefer that. And then reverse it for a few more reps. Should feel light enough that you can kind of glide your heels on the bar without too much struggle. One more. And then bring the carriage back in. Bring your feet back in line with your sit bones. Toes on the bar, push the carriage out just a little bit. So you're still pretty close to the stopper, but not in all the way. And then just do kind of a version of running where one heel goes a little lower and then the other heel switches. So you're still doing that push-pull feeling with the ankles, and there's a little bit of a bounce through the carriage. If you're struggling with the bounciness of it, just do the heels and ankles moving first without moving the carriage, and then add that little pulse of the carriage moving. One heel goes under, one heel lifts up, one heel goes under, one heel lifts up. Use your peripheral view to make sure that your knees are pointed up to the ceiling, that you're in the center of the carriage, not tipped off to the side. And start to let that pulse get a little bit bigger. Push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. Trying to not just ride the spring in, but keep that sense of press and internal resistance through the legs. Trying to find some elasticity in our body, some glide, some swinging motions today, and lots of multiplanar movement. And then come all the way back in. You can take the straps off the shoulder rest and put your feet in the straps. If you're on anything less than two red springs, I would increase the spring tension for this. Pretty much everybody, unless I've told you otherwise, is 2 red springs for feet and straps. So take the legs once they're in the straps out on the diagonal, connect the ribs, and just turn your legs out. Go into a big V shape, so like a capital V, opening out to the wide part of the V, and then the heels come back towards each other and down into the narrow part of the V. As you do this a couple times, try to not flatten the lower back, so you keep your lower back in the same position. Open and press the legs towards each other. Open, press the legs towards each other. Four more times here. Big range, just getting the legs moving a little bit. Once you get your legs back together, go into stag. So one leg bends, the other leg goes out into that similar V shape to what we just did. You're kind of bringing the heel toward the sit bone, feeling like the inner thighs are stretching and working at the same time. Passing this check mark shape from one side to the other. Trying to keep the hips and the torso in the middle. You can go at your own speed. If you know this exercise pretty well, then get it moving. Open, press to the center. Open, press to the center. And just using your breath to try to keep opening up areas of your body that feel a little stiff. Hips in the pelvis. One more time, finish up even on both sides. Bring the legs back to the diagonal. Turn your legs in and flex your feet so your knees and toes are pointing towards each other. And just do some medium-sized circles internally rotated. So kind of an awkward position. I don't want you walking down the street like this, but we're just training some muscles that do this internal rotation that will help you to be strong and stable in other positions, parallel positions that are more everyday. Yeah, circle and circle and circle. Try to keep it moving so it's not kind of sleepy time. And reverse your circles. As you're circling around, torso is still active in that you have to work and change the work that's happening in order to maintain the position of the ribs and the pelvis. Two more. And last one. Make sure your headrest is down, and I'm going to cue you through short spine prep. If you know the full short spine, feel free to go into that right away. Otherwise, I'll cue the short spine prep. So rotate the legs to parallel, hinge at the hips, let the legs come up towards the ceiling, keep your sacrum down. Just take a big stretch there. Rotate your legs turned out, pull the heels towards the tail, and then push the carriage back out to where you started from. And then smooth everything out. Rotate to parallel, hinge at the hips. Feel like the sits bones are going down as you reach up through the feet. Rotate the legs turned out, pull the heels towards the tail, and then press out. If you're adding to that to your short spine, rotate to parallel the full short spine. You roll all the way up, trying to get off of the carriage with the pelvis. You come all the way into the stopper. Rotate, turn out, pull the heels towards the tail. Try to leave the heels where they are, so you're getting a lateral hamstring stretch as you roll down. Connect to the back of the legs, and then press out. 2 more on your own timing, smoothing it out as you reach your feet up to the ceiling. Rotate, turn out. Your abdominals are holding you in this inverted position. So it should feel like if the straps just disappeared, you wouldn't fall over, that you're actively engaged into this position, not just kind of hanging off the straps. When you're done with this last repetition of short spine, press your legs back out on the diagonal and just go into some parallel leg circles. Pelvis staying down, circle around, lifting up through the center, circling around. And reverse the direction, lifting up, circling around. One more. And then bend your legs and grab a hold of the straps and kind of go into a happy baby type pose. Rock that shape a little side to side just for a split second here. And then you can take the feet off of the straps, put the straps back on the hooks so the shoulder rests. You can adjust the headrest however you're comfortable, and put the balls of the feet on the bar in line with the center of the hip joint. Lift one leg up to tabletop and extend that leg out over the bar. Bicycle as you press out and reach over the bar as you come in. Push, pull, feeling, bicycle, reach. Make sure each leg has an opportunity to straighten. You're trying to open across the front of the hips. Push out and stay. The leg in the air is in tabletop, and just stir that thigh bone in the hip socket, stirring it around, getting it gliding a little bit. Reverse, stirring the leg around. And then coming all the way back in, bring that foot down onto the bar, send the other leg out over the bar, and bicycling with the second leg. Short and sweet here. Just trying to open the front of the hips, connect to the back of the legs. Each leg has an opportunity to straighten, actively straighten. One more time. Push out and hold, and then just stirring your thigh bone in your hip socket, trying to find your glide here. And reverse, circling your leg around, and then coming all the way back in. Put both heels on the bar one more time, headrest down, roll your hips up again, open across the front of the hips, push the carriage out from the back of the legs, lowering the pelvis, stay neutral, lift the pelvis to come back in, and then roll back down. We're gonna do that a couple more times. So round the pelvis under, roll the hips open, push the carriage out. Your pelvis will lower enough that you stay neutral. Pull the carriage back in and roll back down. Twice more. On your own timing, open across the front of the hip, press out, pull in and roll down. And last time, roll up, press out. Pull in. Once you're up and in on this last rep, just do a little push-pull from the legs. So you push out a little, pull in, push out a little, pull in. Try to keep the pelvis as high as you can. Push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Pull it back in and roll back down. Roll off to the side of the reformer, face towards the camera, if that's an option. And let's switch to your universal settings. So gear bar 2, stopper 2. It'll give you the most ability to adjust the spring tension. And then a quarter spring. Sitting comfortably cross-legged, if your legs need to hang off the edge, you can. Instead of grabbing the strap that's on the more forward, grab the strap that's coming from the back shoulder rest. Strap that's from the back shoulder rest, yeah. Okay, cool. So grab a hold of the strap with the outside hand, the arm closer to the foot bar. Back strap, yes. Reach your arm towards straight and then press yourself around into rotation, like you're trying to rotate your shoulders towards the foot bar as much as that's possible, and then rotate back towards the pulleys. So do that a couple times. If you want it to be a teeny bit bigger range of motion, scoot a little bit away from the shoulder rest. If you want it to be heavier, of course you can add resistance to this. You might be able to do this on a half spring. A quarter spring was feeling good to me today. And switch arms. We're gonna do that, so good thinking. Rotate and return. And then see if you can add a lift of the arm. So you press out, don't drop your head up, but lift your arm up to circle it around. If you want it a little bit heavier, just walk your hand up the strap a little bit. Press up and over. Rotating through the torso. Try to rotate and then rotate towards the pulleys. So you're rotating in both directions. Try to keep lifting up out of the spine. If this feels like you could do thousands of these before you get tired, then you need to increase the spring tension. Yeah, as your arm goes up, try to keep your shoulder away from your ear. And last one. And then hold up a little closer to the metal clip with the inside hand closer to the shoulder rest. And just bring your hand horizontally across in front of your shoulder. Keep your arm straight and take it back out to the side. So do that a couple times. If it's too heavy, you can walk down on the strap towards the end of the loop. Yeah. Good. Keeping your arm as straight as you can. As you pull the arm in front, trying to keep ribs and shoulders facing forward. Yeah, some of you might be able to hold way up on the rope so that you can start with your arm literally all the way out to the side. Try to keep the torso in the center. One last time. And then scoot a little closer to the shoulder rest, and you might need to change spring tension. Don't fall over on me. Grab the hand in the loop, put your other hand on your leg or on the carriage, and just reach yourself up and over into a side bend. Feel the opposition of that opposite hip staying down. Here's where I think a half spring probably is what y'all need, but it definitely gets heavier quickly. Half spring might feel like it's more in the rib cage and the abdominals as well. Nice. Big side bend and come back to vertical. Big side bend and come back to vertical. Awesome, everyone. Two more. And then grab a hold with both hands and press both arms across in rotation. So it should feel heavy enough that you feel some challenge to rotate. If you need to scoot towards the foot bar, that works to help give you a little bigger range of motion. Depending on your strength, I'd say between 1/4 and 3/4 spring should be heavy enough for everybody. Keep connected to the back of the shoulders. 2 more. And last one. And then keep the same strap, but turn to face towards the foot bar. Put the strap in the correct hand, so it'll be the hand further from the camera. If you're more comfortable with your legs off to the side, feel free to do that. Yeah. Okay, so reaching the arms down, you only have one strap, pressing the arms forward and reaching back down. So you're just reaching straight forward, trying to not let anything turn as you press your arms forward. Staying centered. It's not impossibly difficult when we have the arms moving in this plane of motion. As we make it a bigger or move away from the midline of the body, it's going to be harder. So reach the arms forward and then open out to the side. Try not to let everything get pulled off to the side. A few times in a row, you can do it with the palms up or the palms facing each other. It's like hug a tree or offering. So the arms stay up the whole time. They're in front of you. They're just opening and closing and trying to stay centered. Make sure your head isn't getting pushed forward, that you're lengthening and lifting the back of the neck. 2 more. And last one. Lower your arms back down. Then sweep your arms forward again until your arm gets above your shoulder height. And then you're going to put your free hand underneath your elbow and do a couple tricep presses. You're not holding your elbow up. You're just helping to build awareness of if that arm is moving around. You don't need the arm, then get rid of it. But I think for most of us, it helps to have a little bit of tactile feedback. Good. There's a couple ways to do this. You can stay sitting up vertical, which is kind of what most of us are doing. You could lean forward. That might be easier for some of you. Just try to feel like the back of the neck and the head is lifting up long and tall if you're going to be vertical. The elbow has to be above shoulder height. If you can't get your elbow above shoulder height, then lean forward on the diagonal and that'll help. Yeah, that's better, everybody. Last one. And then reach your arm all the way to straight. Sweep your arm back down and pause there. So then you're gonna take that same arm, clasp your hands together in front of you. You're only gonna rotate towards the direction the strap is coming from. So rotate away from the camera towards the strap and then come back forward. Do that a couple times. Should feel like you get some resistance pulling against your obliques. And you're rotating towards the strap, towards the foot bar, getting taller, lifting up and around. Yeah, awesome. One more time. And then you can return that strap back down, turn to face away from the camera and grab the strap that's more behind you. Yeah, so you're gonna start with your chest rotated towards the shoulder rest direction, holding that back strap. Some of you are on a quarter spring. You might wanna switch to a quarter spring. Just be careful as you adjust. And then rotate away from the pulleys towards the foot bar and rotate back. So your arm is staying straight. You're doing a big, huge rotation, trying to keep the arm reaching away from you. Yeah. Gliding the rib cage around the spine. And as you rotate, try to keep tension in the strap the whole time, especially if you're on a quarter spring. to work a little harder to not lose the tension. So you have to keep even amounts of forces pushing into the rope the whole time. 2 more. Last one. Then we add that rotation and the arm goes overhead. So press your arm out to the side towards the foot bar. Lift your arm up and over to return. If that doesn't work for you, just stick with what we just did. And your arm rotates the torso. The arm goes overhead and the torso rotates back towards the pulleys. Up and over. Twice more. Press, rotate up and over. And last one. And then hold on to the strap with the hand closer to the pulleys, the backhand. Pull your arms straight in front of your shoulder and then return the carriage to the stopper. So holding on to the strap, if your hand's in the loop, it'll feel like it's not a very big range of motion. So you might fold the strap and hold closer to the metal clip, just depending on how much tension you can manage. Obviously here you could go heavier if you need to. Trying to keep the torso vertical, not letting yourself lose focus on the back of the shoulders. So you're keeping that back of the shoulder kind of plugged in with those rotator cuff muscles and with the shoulder girdle muscles. So it should feel like more work in the arm and the back of the shoulder, not in the pec. One more time. And then clasp the hands together, reach the arms out away from you, and press yourself into rotation. Here's where many of us switched to a half spring because it was a little too light. Rotate and rotate, just wringing out the spine here. Trying to lift up and get taller. Feeling like the top of the head would touch the ceiling if I let you do this all day. One more time. And then take the hand that's closer to the foot bar, put it either on your leg or the side of the carriage near the springs. Reach your other arm with the strap on it overhead into a big side bend, and then sit back up tall. So you side bend to press the arm overhead, you lift back up tall, and lengthening through the spine. As you do a few more, I want you to think of the image of like if you turned on a hose and you had an arcing motion of water coming out of the hose, and then you increase the pressure a little bit each repetition so that you're letting the shape get a little bigger and a little bigger, and feeling the opposition of that sit bone. Keeping that opposite sit bone down will keep you from tipping over. One more time. And then return. Awesome. Keep that strap, but turn towards the foot bar. Holding on with the arm closer to the camera, so it's now on the same side. Sweep both arms forward and both arms back down, lifting up nice and tall. Yeah, and as you do this a few times, feel like you're continuing to feel that back of the neck lengthening. Awesome. Press your arms up and hold them there. Open your arms out towards the side. Connect the abs a lot to bring them back. Keep them at that shoulder height-ish level, and only open as far as you think you can get your arms back in front of you. Open and close. Nice early. Good. One more time. And then sweep your arms back down. Sweep your arms forward until your arm gets above shoulder height, your elbow gets above shoulder height and is on a diagonal. The free hand can kind of rest underneath the elbow to just give it feedback as you do your tricep press. Push through the arm, bend the arm. Push, pull. Yeah. You should feel this into the shoulder girdle, into the back of the rib cage, but there's lots of stability that's happening back there. Good. Last two. And last one. Keep the arms straight to come out of this and sweep the arms straight forward and down. Grab a hold of the strap with both hands and reach your arms forward. Clasp your hands together, rotate towards the direction of pull or towards the rope, and square yourself back off to the foot bar. Rotate and square yourself off. And then start to feel like you're doing this motion from the abdominals more than it's coming from the arms. So the arms are trying to go along for the ride and the abs are what's pulling back, pulling you back to the front. Nice. Two more. And last one. And then you can bring the strap back, come off of the reformer and put the foot bar down. Switch to one red spring. And then put your long box on. In previous classes, we were working with holding something in these long box exercises between the legs. If you've got something nearby, grab it and add it. But we're going to be laying on our stomachs, chest over the front of the box. Hold on to something either between the ankles, the knees, or the inner thighs, whatever helps you to feel more connected. Grab your hands up onto the rope. And start flexed forward. Start with just your basic plow. So you're pulling your arms down, lifting your chest up, and then lengthening back down. Just to remind yourself this feeling here of pulling and flexing forward over the box. The main goal is getting the upper back to move and to connect. So then we're going to add to that. So you're going to press your arms back in that plow. Once you're there, bend your elbows, keeping the elbows about the same height like a tricep press, and then reach the arms forward and flex over the front of the box. So you pull the arms down, you lift the spine into extension, you bend your elbows and you sweep your arms forward, lowering your chest at the last minute. And then start to make it one continuous motion like the wheels on a train. Pulling back, tricep, reach forward, pulling back, triceps, reach forward. That's it. And you can walk your hands up on the rope a little further. We'll make it a little heavier if you need. Reverse this train. So think of like a tricep pull to bend your elbows back by your side. To start, straighten the elbows, then sweep straight arms down. You're still moving your spine, or I'd like you to still be moving your spine. So bend your elbows as you lift yourself up into extension, straighten the elbows, keep the extension. As the arms sweep down, flex forward. Then the elbows extend and sweep forward. Bend, extend, and sweep forward. Nice. Keep the legs engaged. That's partly why I have you guys holding a block or a ball between your legs to make sure that they're supporting this movement. One more time. And then take your hands onto the rails and just relax for a second. And then from here, we're gonna lift our arms up towards the horizontal line. Press your arms back towards your hips and just do a little pulse. So out, in, along the horizontal. Yeah, try to go all the way to your hips if you can. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Sweep the arms back forward. You can let go of the straps, drop your block or your ball, whatever you have between your legs. Come off there. And locate the straps and put them on someplace that you'll be able to access them in a minute. So on the shoulder rest is good. We're gonna keep your one red spring and sit facing towards the back of the reformer. You wanna make sure there's enough room behind you that if you were to lay all the way down, your bottom of your shoulder blades area would kind of hit the edge. And then you can use your arms to get you back up. Okay, so your feet have to be on the headrest or to the sides of the shoulder rest. They can't lift off or I get worried. Hold the straps in front of you and just start to curl your pelvis down a little bit and then sit back up and lengthen through the spine. Round down and scoop and come back up. So you're trying to find how far can you go down, probably all the way for most of you, and still be able to get back up without lifting the feet off. Yeah, awesome. And you are letting the arms help you a little bit and the resistance help you. Then at the top, instead of sitting all the way back up to straight, find that back of the sits bones position like teaser and lift one leg up like teaser. So your leg's on a diagonal. Now roll back as far as you can get back up and scoop and come back up. Switch legs. Try to keep the thigh still in space so you're not kicking the leg to get you back up. Yeah, and if that's going well, you could have both legs in the air, but only if you're not kicking. Using the straps to help you, it can be kind of like a bicep curl. Nice, Dana. Look at that teaser. And rolling back, scooping and coming up. One more time, rounding back and scooping and coming back up. Good. And then pause. If that's working well for you and you want to add to that, if you had both legs in the air, then turn around to face the other direction. If you're still working on getting both legs in the air, stay facing that way. If you're facing the other direction, you've got to scoot way forward so that when you lay down, there's space behind you. And you're going to push into your arms and come up in a full teaser. A lot more balance, a lot more control is required. You can go back into extension, sweep through the arms, press yourself up. If you didn't lift both legs on the other, facing the other way, that was preparatory. So it might be too much to just jump into this. Legs, arms go down, your back extends, you look towards the pulleys, then you nod your chin, the arms sweep down, press through the arms to come back up. One more time of whatever you're doing. If you're facing the foot bar direction, make sure you get out of this safely. You don't suddenly just jump off. Yeah, bring the carriage back in to come off of it. There we go. Nice, Joanna. And then when you're safely dismounted, you guys can come off of there. Let's start with light springs, just a half spring, and then you'll be looking at the springs, so you could always add more if you want. So I'm standing on the side of the reformer. I'm gonna take the strap that's on this side of the reformer closer to the camera on the outside of my body. So I'm standing between the rail and the rope. Yeah, okay, and then take the other strap, and you feel how you can move the carriage pretty easily. Hopefully. If you can't, it's too heavy. push your hands forward until you can touch at least one hand to the front of the box, and then toss your thigh on there and slide on the box. Rotate your legs turned out, and just press your arms overhead and bend your arms back in. Push your arms towards straight. They might not straighten all the way, that's okay. And reach forward, super person, and back. If you'd like to add to this reach forward, circle your arms around like your breaststroke and lift your chest a little. Lower your chest as your arms go forward. Lift your chest as you come around. And you have to find the right spring tension to be able to help you to get your chest up. It should feel like the ropes are actually helping to lift you up, not hindering that. And so my guess is for most of us, we have to increase the spring tension in order to feel like we can get the chest up. But don't feel like you have to add that. Bend the arms, reach overhead, sweep the arms and lift the chest up. Eventually it'll feel like you really get lifted more than you could facing the other direction because you have the assistance of the ropes. Yeah, so Dana, reach your arms forward like super person. As you circle around, lift your chest and your hands come back towards your hips, and then you sweep the arms forward again by bending them. Reach them overhead, circle around, yeah. And then come back in. So my guess is that most of you, if you felt like you couldn't go very far, it's just too light. If you feel like your shoulders are struggling, yes, this moment where you reach forward is harder, heavier, but it's really brief. And then you get to circle your arms around. So then from there, bring your legs to parallel. And of course you can adjust at any time and just do a little bit of a bicep curl here. Adjust the springs at any time. So your arms are by your sides, your bicep curling, and you're in one long line. Bend and straighten, bend and straighten. My guess is you'll probably need at least 3/4 springs, but maybe even 1 spring or more to feel like you're getting some work here. Gravity is kind of shoving your shoulders forward. So feel the back of the shoulders staying really connected to the back of the rib cage. One more time. And then put your hands on the edges of the box and slide off over the rope. And then be mindful how you bring the carriage back in. Perfect. Come off of here and get rid of your box. Switch to probably a half spring will work for everybody. Kneeling facing the side with 1 foot on the rail. If your hip flexors are grippy, put the box in front of the rail and put your foot on the box in front of the rail. So you're in this lunge position. Switch your legs. Yeah, there we go. Put your foot that's closer to the back of the reformer, the pulleys, on the rail. And then don't have it be underneath you. It needs to be out, and you need to lunge towards it a little bit. Reach your arms out to the side and just pull. So I'm on a half spring. I would say this doesn't feel super heavy, and that's okay for the beginning. What I want is that the knee comes under you and then it splits away, and more or less this standing leg isn't moving around on you. Good. And then you can add your upper body rotating towards that standing leg. Rotate and square yourself off. And rotate and square yourself off. One more like that. And then side bend as you pull and return. And up and over. Return. Up and over. One more time. And then bring the carriage back in. Stand up on the floor. It's a different angle if you're on a lower reformer. Some of you, if you're shorter, you might need to stand up on something. put your foot against the shoulder rest. If you feel like you can hardly get your leg up there, it's super high, then you need to stand on something. You can back up a little bit and then just feel really tall and lifted, push the carriage forward and then bend that leg. And then figure out exactly where you need your leg to be. It's somewhere near the edge of the carriage towards the springs. Try not to lean forward for a second. Try to just stay vertical. Push, pull, push. Keep pulling the ribs down. And then bend the knee so that your ankle is under your knee. Keep it that way. Lunge forward a little bit through the standing hip and then bring yourself back upright. Lunge forward and bring yourself upright. And I'm feeling like I could put more weight on there. I won't say that heavier is going to make it easier or harder. It just changes the stability. Like I feel more work in that standing hip to push forward, but more support through the carriage side. So find that sweet spot where you feel like it is some work here. You can take your arms overhead so your body makes a big diagonal as you press forward. It's fine if the heel has to leave the floor a little bit. One more time. And then lift the standing heel away from the floor and see if you can push the carriage forward and bend the leg a few times. Staying as vertical as you can. Trying to hover. If you can't hover, put your heel back down. Push, pull, 4, 3, 2, and last one. And come back in. Walk around to the other side. Start with the lighter version where you can be totally vertical and just gentle, light, easy, push, pull. Whoops, I went out of order, but that's okay. We'll get to it all. I'm just feeling that press and that pulling back on the quad as your leg pushes forward more. This is for balance, getting that standing hip going. And keep the knee under the hip and lunge forward from the standing hip and then bring yourself back up. Here's where I made it heavier. Pushing forward in your lunge, standing back up and lunge and stand tall. You can take your arms overhead so you get this big, long diagonal. Good. 2 more. And then stand back up to vertical, lift your standing heel and see if you can push the carriage forward and back a couple times as vertical as possible. You're probably on a little bit of an angle forward, that's okay. But you're trying to be vertical. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Come all the way back in. Step off of there, switch to your side inner thigh, kneeling spring tension, which is probably a half spring, and put your foot out on the rail, lunging out towards the side, pull the standing knee underneath you. So you're trying to bring that knee underneath you by engaging through that inner thigh. After you do a couple of these, trying to pull up tall through the pelvis, then add rotation towards the standing leg. Rotate in, center in. Rotate in, center in, 4. And then side bend. Somebody's cat's going crazy in front of the camera. And side bend. And lift up and over in that side bend. Lift up and over, feel your inner thigh working to pull you up and over. 3, 2, and last one. And return the carriage. It's pretty light, so be mindful as you get off of here. Grab the platform and put the platform over the springs. I'm gonna say 1 red spring and see how that feels to you guys, and you might decide to go a little lighter. It's up to you. So put this platform over the springs, up against the wood, and come to your hands and knees, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips. There we go. Hands on the platform, and just round your back up towards the ceiling into a cat back, and then press the carriage out towards neutral. If it feels like you can't move, then adjust a little bit more your spring tension. So should feel like the carriage glides in as you round your back and you lengthen, and you can press the carriage out pretty easily. Round your back, lengthen to neutral. Then if you'd like, hover the knees up, round your back to bring it in, lengthen to neutral. Round your back to bring your knees under you, lengthen to neutral. That's right. Round your back as your knees come under. Think of it coming from your center, not from your legs. So your back, your belly rounds up to the ceiling, and that pulls the knees in. Yeah, take a break. And then we're gonna hover up again and round the knees under, lengthen to neutral, push out 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Either set the knees down, take a break, or repeat again. Round, neutral. The rounding and the neutral happens in the air. Yeah. And 4 pushes of the carriage. 2, 3, and 4. Round and pull the knees underneath you. Scoop your belly out. Push yourself out to neutral. Push and pull through the legs. 3 and 4. Take a break or repeat. Last set. Pull it in. Reach it out. Press through the legs. Push, pull. And then set the knees back down. Good. Bring 1 foot forward so your metatarsal is on the platform. And then when you push the carriage out, drop your front heel in the well to push the carriage out to a big stretch. Can walk your hands on the rails so you have more space. Like if you walk your hands towards the carriage, there we go. It'll bring your chest up a little higher and to make it more possible to get there. And then walk your hands back towards the platform, bring the carriage back in and switch legs. Make sure your heel isn't lined up with the spring that you have on. Push out and drop your heel. Push, walk your hands back. Take a breath or so, opening the hips, opening the back of the leg, the front of the hip, all that good stuff. And then coming back in. One more thing, we're gonna do a plank, either with your hands on the platform and you push the carriage out like we just did, or if you want it to be a little easier, bring the foot bar up, switch to your 2 red springs, and do it like long stretch. If your hands are on the platform, your feet are against the shoulder rest, you're on the same springs. If you're up on the high bar, 2 red springs, feet against the headrest. So find your plank of your choosing, hold your plank, and then see if you can push the shape out a little bit and pull yourself forward a little bit. Push and pull, nice. Looks awesome, everyone. Take a break where you need. And one last repetition here. Hover your knees up, push the carriage out, and little push from the arms and pull. Push and pull, or you can stay and hold. Yeah, good. And then when you're done, set your knees down. Sit back towards your heels, just do a little shell stretch, rounding through your back and stacking up from there. And you're all done. Awesome work. Good job.